Stargate Africa and also a growth lead at High Partners. So my okay, so a few details about myself is I've been in crypto since 2017, and it's actually been, let me say, a tough journey, right? Because I mean, you just have to like keep trying different stuff. Like at first, I started doing ambassador jobs, and over time, I moved forward to doing um, growth marketing, growth hacking, and all. Then right now, I find fun like doing community building. I mean, because it's actually very interesting because it's more like you're not building this just all by yourself. Like you are building it like with a lot of people, but it has to do this. It has to do with like togetherness and a whole lot. So these are the things we will dive into in this call. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Paul. So, like I said, this is going to be a very, very impactful session. So, if you have questions as it progresses, um, write down your questions. You can use the chat session of the group and write anything that you want clarity about or questions and all of that. So, at the end of everything, you can ask your questions. Maximize opportunity well. This is one opportunity that if you miss it now, won't know when next you're going to like drag. He's a very busy person. So you know how I have to like drag him for this team to come and teach you guys. So better maximize the opportunity. So you have your questions ready around community building in Web3. Like he said, it's a very relevant area in the Web3 space, regardless of whatever it is they are doing. Community share is involved. So moving on moving on. So here at Valucop, this set of people they're learning how to kickstart their career and launch into the Web3 space, be the current Web3 space, like in different skill sets. So I'm very sure they are very curious to learn a lot about this. So the first question would be, let's say any of those people now wants to build a career as a newbie in the Web3 space around this community building. What's the career path they should take? From zero to like, oh, I've made it as a community builder in Web3 space.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good question. So first of what I actually tell people is that you have to, or you need to understand the basics of what you're into. I think what we get to see these days sometimes in the space is like people just jump into the space, let's say through some initiative, but they don't really know much about these things, like was like underneath. So what helps people to grow very big is by learning things at the core, right? So if you actually want to get ahead of a lot of people in the space, you have to learn stuff at the core. So now let's assume that you're a newbie or you want to get into crypto and you don't know so much. The first step you should take is to learn things at the core, like know, okay, how does this things work? Okay. So reason why what the advantage it actually gives you is that when you probably have a call with, let's say, an organization or a project that you might end up working with, the the value you give them based on your approach of how you speak about this project would make them recognize that you're not just someone that just knows this thing like on the surface, right? So you have to learn the basics. Then another thing you should learn or you should focus on is like being like practicalize like stuff you do, like stuff you are learning. Let's say now you want to get your the career paths like you want to take is, let's say, a growth marketer or so. I mean, everybody doesn't have to be a developer, right? So let's say um as a growth marketer. So what you have to do is you have to show the world that you can actually do this by, let's say, building up your own personal Twitter, right? So now this can spin up from doing daily content or probably writing threads on some project, and also Reason why I advise writing trades on, let's say trades on like projects, let's say new projects, is that it helps you. Maybe it even gives you enough visibility. Maybe this project might just retweet it or gives you a thumbs up, and at the end of the day, it might actually give you a value in return because they might like your content and all. But I think where people like kind of miss the whole thing is when they start doing this for a very long time, they feel like okay, the reward is not coming in and all. But to be honest, if you are consistent with what you're doing and if you upgrade, so now another point is upgrading whatever you're doing. Let's assume now that you have been doing content. Let's say you have been doing single post content and posting every day, but the result is not coming through. So now, how do you upgrade that? Let's say you can start by adding like some very good graphics to your work, right? You can start. We also continue by doing some very good threads to around your work and stuff. So this will give you edge. So why you read stuff like in depth, why you try, let's say, do practicalize like the things you are learning about, you should as well okay, practicalizing actually gives you reach and also creates opportunities for you because the jobs I have right now, I okay, let me say the job I have right now, I didn't apply for it actually. So the way I came across it was because I was very active with a project called Argo at the time, 2018. So the project lead felt like, okay, my work is actually very good, right? So they messaged me and asked me, okay, can I work with them at this company? And oh, that's actually how I got employed. So um, most times it's not just about applying for jobs. So people, employers or recruiters, like they know that um not everyone that is actually applying for the job are like qualified. So sometimes some of them get to like get people from like okay their track record. So it's always very good to have track record. So even if you, let's say you're not employed right now, just keep doing what you're doing, focus, upgrade, learn stuff at the core, and keep practicing like any stuff. So if you're getting into Web3 marketing or you're getting into content writing and all, you just have to turn up every day, write articles or trade or whatever on project that you feel that might give you a retweet or a thumbs up or comment on all. You understand? Because I always tell people you have to like maybe focus on a specific ecosystem. It actually worked for me. So I will still get to this though, like when I talk about like how I got into stagnant. So focusing on a specific ecosystem has helped me because a it makes it easier for you to okay give out information because you already understand what's within this ecosystem. It also makes it easy for you to probably get jobs within the ecosystem because as you get to do more, the founders or the community managers or the ecosystem leads get to like notice your work basically, right? So I'm not saying you can't generalize and do stuff like in different ecosystem. You can, but I'm just saying what has actually worked for me, right? So if you are starting out in crypto, focus on the core, learn stuff like in depth. Don't just like do the surface and say, okay, you're good. Then practicalize like any stuff you're learning and keep showing up. That way you would actually get to the so you get to the top basically. Yeah. So
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I hope I take you note though. So okay, in case you just joined us, he just shared about career path for community builders. Want to be a community builder, you are choose space, what to do. So you've heard, you learn, you practicalize, and then you show up by picking, creating, showing up on social media, and then that ecosystem part, you focus on one ecosystem per time, which is like a mega hack. Really, that actually helps you from being too distracted. Um, anyway, so that's it. So thank you so much, Japan, for that. Um, so we get your questions ready if you have any. So now, you've built Stagnant Africa for 2 years now. What are the strategies that you applied that helped you build a successful community across several countries in Africa?
Okay. So this refers back to what I mentioned, okay, about like um focusing on an ecosystem, right? So I got to know about stagnating 20 2020, right? That was way okay. I got to know about layer two in 2019. I was doing research, so it's also refers back to what I said about reading about stuff at the core. So basically, if I didn't learn about how impactful layer twos are going to be or are right now, I wouldn't have like known about like stagnant and all. So I got to know about them through Immutable X because I was quite intrigued by how they can bundle like so many transactions. That's basically the work of rollups, right? The work of a rollup is to bundle, just like now on Ethereum, like uh, it processes like one transaction at a time. But for rollups, let's say if there's 1,000 transaction, what it does is it bundles this transaction then before sending it out to the down to the verifier, which is the layer one Ethereum, right? So I was reading about rollups and I came across Stacknet. So over time, I didn't pay much attention to it because I I I didn't know that okay there would be need for having like different communities in the stagnant ecosystem. So how I actually got to start building Stagnant Africa was because I was paying attention to this particular ecosystem and to layer twos basically, which is why focus is very, very, very important. So I came across a post of the ecosystem lead saying that they would really love to have communities in different um, regions, continents, and also the first idea that came to my mind, okay, let me create Stagnant Nigeria if that would work fine with them. That was May 2022, right? So I set that up, and over time I didn't like have much things to do. So now I asked myself, okay, what are the next plans? What are the best ways to build this up? So I realized that if you actually want to build a community, like you need to create like togetherness, right? You need to like um have not just yourself in the community. Obviously you can't be the community just yourself, right? Then you also need to like encourage cooperation, right? And I mean, so let me just refer back. So over time I got to meet someone that was learning Cairo. So we started building this community together. Then we met at a conference and all, and met so many people. So basically, I think I've actually lost track on what I was actually going to say, but basically, the point is, if you want to build a community, let's say as in Africa, you have to start by identifying, let's say, who people that have interest in what you're doing, because everybody like needs to like be on the same line. Like everybody needs to like visualize and say, okay, this is where we are heading to, because what actually unifies a community is like when there is a common goal of, and also when there is a room for everybody to create something. Let's assume that you are building up a project, right, and you want to build a community around this project. You need to identify, okay, what would people like love about my this project. Most people now come up with the concept of points, saying, okay, you would end this point to have a feature reward like in the long term. So the same stuff applies to community. If you want to build up a community, you have to realize that these guys you are building with, they're not just there for being their sake. They are also there for long term aim and long term plans, right? So you probably start building your community like as two people, but the aim is to do things that would grow your community into like 10, 20, 50, and all. So the strategies we used to build Stagnant Africa was we identified, okay, this projects, what they needed at the time was developers, right? So I meet with the developer. I'm not a developer, but I have a good knowledge about like programming languages, Cairo, Python, and all, but I don't code. So that's also like when you refer it back to what I said about learning things at the core, because if you don't know these things, like you, it might reduce your value on how these guys you're working with like sees you. You understand? Because when you're working with a developer, you also have to be, let's say, a little bit smart to understand like whatever they are going to like tell you, or probably what you guys are going to work on together, right? So we picked up the fact that okay, Stacknet community, what they actually loved at the time was they needed more developers. So we worked together and delivered a workshop in Lagos. That was 2022. They also met a few people. So over time we started growing because what we told people was that okay, this community we are building, it's very new. The ecosystem is still like um in its early stages, but the reward in long term would actually be nice. Just like I said the other time, you have to let your community know that like there is something greater, like in future that they can benefit from, right? So we kept building with that narrative that okay, there's a whole lot to benefit from in the future. Then over time, we we stuck with our plan. We did more boot camps, we did meetups, and we did a whole lot. So the best way to build a community, you have to identify what your community like loves. You have to like, love. You have to identify like what they actually care about. When you identify what your community care about, you give them that back to back. Like you have to keep giving them that. Then you upgrade that details or probably that information like over time to keep them together, and also like it creates a room that okay, that we are all in this together as a community. Understand? Because if you see probably what's um disrupts like a community is like when there is um when there is no unity in a community. So the same stuff applies to building up a community in crypto. You have to identify what your community would value more, then you give it to them basically. And that's what we did. So yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that breakdown. So without further ado, let's just how do you okay, I think you sort of touched this a bit. I touched this a bit like in the previous question. So move on to the next. So now one of the things that in communities, right? One of the important things in communities is engagement. So how do from your experience with the projects you've worked with and the projects you've observed, how do you foster engagement? Like when you brought these people together, you know, this target audience together and all of that, you're working with them, you're giving them what they want. How do you keep them engaged, constantly engaged and alert in the community?
Okay. So how do you keep them engaged? So uh, basically, what a normal social media guy or content creator would say, okay, you have to create a content calendar. This that obviously that works, right? But this refers back to my initial like answer. You have to identify what your community loves, like what they want to hear and what they want to learn about. So referring it back to Stacknet community, they want to not that they just love developers, right? But the fact is that okay, Cairo is a new language and they needed to onboard more people to learn about Cairo. So now it refers back to okay, these are the contents we are creating within this time frame. So if you want to keep your community engaged, let's say now you are building a community around NFTs, right? So now how you keep them engaged is you have to be consistent with your content, and you have to also create room for them to understand that this is for this we are building this for long term, and the people you have under you, probably the community you have under you, would visualize it. Okay, there is a reward for us as a community long term, right? So how you maintain engagement is by making consistent um, posts or consistent content around what your community loves. Because once you go, let's assume now you are building up a community around, let's say, um, arts. Should I say arts? Let's say a community around. Let me use crypto around oracles. I mean oracles like Web3 oracles like Chainlink, and every day you post about NFTs. I mean it wouldn't work, right? It wouldn't work basically. So you have to identify, you have to pinpoint what your community loves, and you post about that. But there has to be an upgrade, because when people get used to something, they will just like feel bored. They will just completely feel bored. I mean, that's human nature, right? So let's say you start with, okay, you do a normal community, you do a normal Twitter space with your community. Then at some point you probably put in some energy and get a very top speaker to join your Twitter space. This obviously would create like engagement. I mean, not just a random speaker. I mean, we this actually one of the strategies we use like at the time. So we first off we started doing community based Twitter space, because we wanted the community to feel that they are we wanted them to feel among, right? So we did a few community Twitter space. Then over time we realized, okay, if we keep doing this, it won't be enough. We started inviting people from other projects to do Twitter space with us. We ask them questions about their journey and actually how it will help people in our community, because people in your community, they also want to grow personally. So they want to learn from other people. So how you can help them. So more like you are growing as a community, but this community has to have a lead, which is you, right? So you have to identify these things, like how do I upgrade what I'm currently doing. First off, let me just list it out again. First off, you need to understand what's your community love, like the content they love. Then you give them consistently. Then over time you upgrade this content. Let's say based on the Twitter space I mentioned, over time you bring in someone that is like huge in the ecosystem you are working on, like you're working with, and they will basically love it. This will boost your engagement generally. I mean, there's no two ways about it. And let's say after the Twitter space, you can even create content from the Twitter space itself. So, a good a practical example of this is like we conducted a stagnant conference in Lagos. It has ended, but then we are creating content around this conference. Like we are giving the speakers that came to the conference visibility by posting on our Twitter, and the speakers also are giving us visibility by retweeting our content. And also, our community loves this content because this is actually like what they came for. So it just goes around and comes back to your community based on the growth and all. So it's all about what your community love and just keep giving them like back to back. Yeah.
Amazing stuff, amazing stuff. Thank you so much for that insightful answer. Um, so have you had to incentivize participation within your Web2 community? And if you have, or if you advise it, what's the most effective way to incentivize participation?
Okay, so the best way to build a community is not to not to like flash um incentives at first. That's actually what I would recommend, because when you flash it at first, you would attract people that just want that incentive. At the end of the day, they will leave. So now my strategy to beat this is, if you want to build a community, I've said this initially, you have to make your community understand that there is a long-term reward. I mean, not just they have to understand, in the short term, they will be seeing like the progress. But I'm talking about incentive here, right? They will be seeing like progress over time and say, okay, this stuff is really good. Then what really blow off over time is, let's say, out of let's say 50 people in your community, let's say 2 persons or 3 persons like get some kind of like reward, right? It motivates other people to probably get like work harder to get to the point these 2 guys or 3 guys like that got this reward. So now, when you build with this mindset, like it creates room for people to like work hard to get this incentive. So unlike what we see like in some Web3 communities these days, they're just like, okay, come out the first day and say we'll be having an airdrop. I mean, people, obviously you are attracting okay, people that just want your airdrop. After the airdrop they will leave. I mean, it's that simple. But let's say you advertise your community based on what you're currently doing, but the way you sound so confident about your content, how quality. I mean, I have to highlight quality here because it's not just about making content. If your content like isn't it doesn't have like the very good quality, I mean, is people are going to lose interest like over time. So um like you have to keep building around your content. I'm still going to answer your question like specifically. You have to keep building around your content. Then over time, just like I said, the best strategy to use. So the strategy we used with Stagnant, like we used as Stagnant was okay. So over time, when the the Stagnant team, like they realized, okay, we are offering so much value as a community, they started giving like a few people that work very hard, that have projects that they're working on, grants, right? So we spoke with the community and about the whole grant and stuff. So they started giving people grants on building a project. So now when someone in the community announced that okay, they got a grant for building out a product, what does it do? What it does in return is it makes other people in the community to want to build out a product or a tool to get this grant. So basically, we are not just giving people incentive for giving them incentive sake. You are getting people build on your product. At the end of the day, they kind of like get an incentive for it. So more like you attract quality people at first using your content and like making them understand that okay, this is the long term um, plan for this project. So just like I highlighted initially, we told people that Cairo is a new language, Stagnant is a new ecosystem. This was in 2022. That there is so much planned in the future, right? Because people want to like people, even though people want like short-term rewards, but they also like get to imagine how this should be in the long run, right? So these are the strategies we used for stagnant. So obviously there were incentives, but we are strategic about it. We didn't just start splashing money and say, okay, these are the incentive you get for doing this and that. No, we made sure that these incentives it goes to people that work hard enough for it. So now, unlike the major strategy like most projects use about like always saying, okay, there is just a lot of incentive. I mean, this helps people, but when you make it that way, the whole incentive will be crowded, and the amount will be even very very less. I mean, we have seen this with the current trend going on around, let's say the around like the current system going around, right? So when it's overcrowded, the incentive becomes more. But when you attract like top quality people by incentivizing them based on the value they bring to you as a product in return, then you get proper um, value in return. So yes, it's good to give incentive, but you have to be very, very strategic about it, just like I mentioned.
Wow. I wish sorry, okay. I wish so many some other projects in the space will really come and listen to this. Like you said, this is something that has been misused in the space, even with the whole drama and era around airdrops. Most projects start out with airdrops before they even have a real product and all of that. So thank you very much for that. So how do you yeah, this is the last question. Before we take questions from anybody who has, please, like I said, maximize opportunity asking questions. Think about building a career in want to build a career around community, even if you're a writer, like you heard him mention writing at some part of this thing. Even if as a writer too, you need to know how to convey some of these things. So think about the questions that you would ask that you need clarity about than ask. If people don't ask, or just assume that everything is said, covered everything that you would want answered. So this is the last question. Um, so how do you measure? I know success is obvious, like if a community is really succeeding, like it's obvious, very obvious. But how do you? What are the KPIs or what are the things that you look out for to measure the success of a Web3 community? What are the metrics you keep track of? You say, okay, is this community, is it healthy? Is it growing? Are we making progress? Have we hit a block? Stuff like that. Thank you.
Okay. Um. So, what are the things you look out for? So, basically, say sorry. Can you repeat the question again?
Okay, what are the how do you measure success of a Web3 community? Like, what are the metrics you track to gauge the health and growth, whether the community is healthy and growing well, or whether it's stuck?
Okay. So, I would say a good way to measure this like is when you say community. Let's say now when you refer to Solana community, or okay, let me say when you refer to the Stacknet community, let me use Stacknet. You will see that all of them like have a shared interest like in this technology. You understand? At least anyone from the outside will say, okay, um, not just about the engagement. They will say, okay, the people building on Stacknet, like they actually care about like the technology itself. You understand? So basically, the ways to measure growth, I wouldn't say just engagement, because if it's just engagement, then you can buy it, right? So the way to measure the growth of the community is like let me say friendliness. Let's say now um if a community is like toxic, it's going to like bluff. Let's say the BCH community, sometimes they are mostly toxic. So right now they don't even have a community. You understand? So one major way to measure this is like togetherness, friendliness of the community, and also if they share the same interests in the technology that you're probably in the products you are building, right? Yeah, this question is tricky because if you are looking at it only from the engagement aspect, it's very tricky because people do buy this. But from my own point of view, let me refer Stacknet Africa into this. So how I look at the growth of South Africa or its developer community is by the tools or the product and the engagements we receive in the Telegram group, right? Or in our Twitter, or yeah, or even people messaging me directly to like ask me questions. So this would let you know that okay, you're not just building an audio community. So if your community is growing as a community builder, you would see this. Basically, it's going to be very obvious. You will see this. If it's not growing, you will obviously see it as well. So um Uh, damn. I'm thinking of like the best way to answer this. I'm thinking of the best way to answer this though. But my whole point is though, like when you are building a community and you are not like gaining enough traction, you're not gaining enough like engagement, you're not getting enough questions, you're not getting enough interactions or enough DMs or so, that means you're probably doing something wrong in that sense. Or if you're getting a lot of hate, because like I said, when there is a toxic community, like it's just going to scatter, it won't grow. So they need to like be friendliness. Everybody needs to like share the same goal. So if you're doing a community and all this like are there, then you are doing something right. Let's say friendliness, um, having the same interest, and you are doing the right stuff. But if you are building a community and it is toxic, it won't grow, right? We have seen this with some projects. I won't mention them. We have seen I've already mentioned like BCH or so. It won't grow. So we have to make sure that the climate or the atmosphere of this community you are building is very okay. That everybody is sharing the same interest. Even you as a community builder or as a community leader, you are sharing the same interest as the community you are building. So there won't be any need for, let's say, doubts within your community, because once they start being doubts, then there's an issue. So as you are building in your community, as you're growing your community, you have to check all these details. You have to check how united your community is, like how all of them have interest, or how all of them have interest in the products you are delivering, and how they love it, and what are their interests basically. So that's it. That's it. But if you are going through the whole matrix rule, then I don't think that's actually what we're talking about. If you're going through the whole matrix, then you have to like refer to using Twitter analyst and all. But that's actually not what you asked, right? I'm confused.
That's not, you actually answer was right on point. Okay. Just for clarity, does that mean that this matrix you shared, like you mean friendliness, how together the community is, how much, how many percent of persons actually have shared interests in why the community is there, and all of those things. Does it vary with projects? I mean, like you
Mm,
mentioned tools at some point, like when you
yeah,
mentioned you
yeah. Okay. Okay. So now, when you say if it varies based on projects, I wouldn't. I would say no, it doesn't, because um let's say which ecosystem or which project now would I use as a very good example. So now let me use Solana as a good example. Let's say every Solana gigahead or gigachild or any child, Solana child, like if you ask them, like the common interest they share is that Solana is the best tech for newbies to get into crypto. That's very cheap. This that is better than Ethereum. Is faster than Ethereum. This and all that, right? So these are what like brings them all together. Okay, that's why you see a lot of meme coins like spin out of Ethereum or even Base. So now when you get to like ecosystem like Base right now, everyone is using like, okay, Base, like if they want to like chat with a particular person, they say, okay, we are so Base and stuff. So now there has to be this togetherness I mentioned. There has to be like friendliness. Like if you are tracking it, like if you are checking if like when you're checking if your community building is on track, there has to be togetherness, friendliness, and also there has to be like room for collaboration and cooperation, right? And a whole lot basically. So you have to look out for a whole lot. And to be honest, community building is not something that is covered. When you are doing something wrong, you would know, unless if you're not paying attention. I think that's even how to cap it up. When you're doing something wrong when it comes to community building, you definitely know. And when you identify this issue, you would if you know what you're doing, you'll be able to figure it out basically. Yeah.
Interesting, interesting. Wow, thank you so much for that impactful session. Impactful 40 minutes so far. Um, do you have any question? Hi, Daniel. Welcome, welcome. Amina, Future, Kemzi, Israel, the two Israels, JD Chisom and Michael. Any question? Like I said, you can ask any question and get your questions answered right now. Do you have any question? So far, so far, so far. So this is like a short course on community building. That's what I'll title it. Short course on community building in Web3 because it touched every important aspect, right? And like he said at the beginning, when you've heard this thing now, what the next thing to do now is what is to put it into practice. That's how you even know what you learned is working or it's not working and all of that. So I think Future and Kemsy, they are typing. Other people too, if you have questions, you can type or you can unmute yourself and ask it. Um, whichever way it works for you. So let me wait for those that are typing to drop their questions. So now next thing is the practical part, right? Putting these things to practice. Like he said, when it's not working, it's not working, you will know. You will know it's not working. So next thing to find out is why it's not working, what the problem is, and then when you find out what the problem is, you can easily start looking for solution on how to solve it and all of that. So like people's question is long ago, waiting for it to drop. I mean, and so others are typing. So thank you so much, Mr. Paul, for your session this evening. Right. This is going to be a major reference for all of us here as we do everything, build career in the Web3 space. Community is very relevant in the Web3 space. You can have a product. If you have no community, your product is as good as useless. It means that nobody likes your product, nobody can use your product and everything. And one of the major things he said in today's session is you have to start with your target audience, like people interest. You have to work with those who are interested in whatever your project is about. That's the way you can't build a community with people that are not interested in what you're doing. And that's why starting out with incentive is wrong, like he said, because if you start out with building with incentive, you might end up bringing in people who are not interested in what you're doing. And at the end of the day, you have numbers, but no real community. All right. So I'm still waiting for your questions to drop. Is it so long? You guys can unmute and ask so it can be faster. Unless you're in a noisy environment though. They can unmute and ask.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm looking forward to the questions.
Okay. So we're waiting for you guys, those that are typing. Don't give us blog post. Okay, one has dropped. Oh, note. That was a question. Okay, that's a great summary, Future. That's a summary, okay. Alright, teacher. Okay, anyone question? Oh, okay, so Paul, this question from Amina is about the community builder himself or herself. Like, what are the qualities you should have as a person? What are the specific characteristics that makes up the person, the community builder himself or herself?
Okay, so what takes to be a community builder? Okay, so um, I would say that community builder is actually a very good DevRels, right? Because as a community builder, you need to have a good communication skill. Because obviously you can't just build a community all by yourself. I mean, you need to build with others, and also you need to be able to connect your community to people that can help you grow, right? So right now, let's assume that, okay, you want to build out a community around a specific project, right? And you don't have this whole communication, very good communication skills. You are going to fall short, because when you have the task, okay, message a specific builder and okay, let's collaborate and all, you might find it hard. So these are things you work on. And also other stuff to work on as a community builder is your writing skill. So um as a community builder, like you need to encompass like a whole lot. Like you need to like encompass a whole lot. Like you need to be able to handle um Twitter properly. You need to be able to handle. You need to be able to host Twitter Spaces basically, because when you start building that at first, you might not have like a lot of support from the community, or let me say a lot of support from people that will be behind you. So at first, you need to like be able to handle all this. And for you to gain this experience or knowledge, you should first start by doing stuff practical, like I said, learning on your own, putting yourself out there. In a sense. So when opportunities like this come, you'll be able to like tackle them. That's why it's always good to like prepare, like always good to like prepare yourself like ahead of time. So the qualities you need to have is you need to be a good writer, right? You need to have a good communication skill. Um, you need to have a good communication skill, and you need to you also need to be a very good social media manager, because even a career can also serve as a community manager. So more like you're actually an all-rounder, because a lot of people will be looking forward to like to learn from you and all. So it's I wouldn't say it's an easy task, but when you go deep into it, like when you're, let's say, 2 years, 3 years like into it, you see that okay, the the journey you have actually started would be quite fruitful, depending on where you are putting in this efforts, basically. So when you say what it entails, so the core of community building is actually for creating togetherness, right? It encourages like cooperation, and it offers space for forging deeper connection. So you as the community builder, you should be able to like connect different people. I mean, that's even, let's say, the role of a developer. Like you should be able to like say, okay, connect this developer to this developer, or this content writer to this content writer, and also your ability to connect these people will determine how fast or how well your community can grow, basically. So that's it. Yeah. I don't know if I missed out any of your questions, though, but I think I got it all spot on. So for the
So
second
for the
question,
question,
okay, is anybody does anyone want
there's
to
one
speak?
interesting. I wanted to like hear like I mean you answered the question like very in depth.
Okay,
I mean
cool.
I hope that's okay for you. I mean I believe you did justice to that question. So I
Yeah.
don't know.
So let me just. Sorry.
Okay, you want to look at questions yourself, or I should read it out? Should I read it out?
Yeah, I'm looking at the questions myself actually. I'm looking at the questions
Okay.
myself. So how do you handle situation where a active committee member is breaking the rules? How do you handle feedback or criticism from community members, right? So now this refers back. I mean, a lot of the questions here actually refers back to like what I said. Unless so when you are building with someone that shares the same interests as you, I don't see any reason for them to um break rules. You understand? Let's say now you are building a community, let's say you're building a community of content creators or so, you understand? And you are offering them very good content. You are being a good leader to them, you understand? I don't think there will be room for someone to start misbehaving in this community. If they start misbehaving, others that are in the community would actually work for you and shut them off. You understand? So it's all about, just like now you are building a community of content writers. Then you now have a few musicians in there or comedians in there. I mean, what would you expect? So this refers to why I said um this refers to what I said about like getting the people that actually have interest in your product, like people that share the same value. So how do you get them? You get them by putting out like you get them by putting out like content out there and collaborating with people that are actually like related to this content you do. It will give you more visibility, of course. With that way you would get people that are interested in your product. But if you are working towards building a community of content writers and you have musicians that doesn't even have like interest in what you're doing, there'll be a little bit of lag or probably misconduct in your community or so. I'm not saying a musician can't change and turn into a community builder, but you have to know the quality of people you have in your community as you build. You understand? So if you are doing good content and all around your the community you are building, there won't be any room for misconduct. If there's criticism or feedback, you handle it in a very professional way. You don't start calling people names on handling this criticism. You have to like answer professionally. So as a leader, basically, I mean community builder, community lead, community leader, and all. So as a leader, you should be able to handle difficult situations. Like you should be able to understand that okay, difficult situation will come in the way, but how you handle them will determine if it will break you or make you, right? So yeah. So that's actually my answer to this question. The third question is just let me know, give me a thumbs up or so if I answered it correctly. If I don't, you can just type again. So the next question is, as a beginner in community building with little following, won't it be challenging to get projects to work with? So all of us, we started with small following. We started with like zero. We started from zero, like zero followings. But how do you build out these followers? So there are different strategies to do this. But the most important one I will share is about showing up every day. But as you show up every day, join a community. So for you to build your own community, you have to join a community. And by joining a community, it will help you build your own followers, right? It will help you build your own followers and help you build people that are relevant to your life. Let's say now you don't have just like you said. Sorry, am I still on the call? Okay. Yeah. So you have very little following and you want to build this. So the best shot or the best advice I would give is, let's say when you pick an ecosystem, you know you're very good, you know you are good at writing stuff, you would pick out like projects that, let's say, that are not like all blown yet, like projects that are still like growing. You are not putting out a content on them because you love them so much. Okay, obviously, probably you love them so much, but you're putting out the content because you know that these guys haven't grown so much, but they have some good exposure. But with good tags, and so they will be able to like capture the attention of this project. It does not guarantee that they would come back to you and say, okay, they want to work with you or whatever, right? What it guarantees is that you are putting up content that this project might eventually like in the long run, and you're putting out content that you can use in your portfolio as a content writer. And also you're putting out content that would potentially get a retweet from this small project you are trying to like write content on. I mean, small relevance project, obviously, not some crap, right? So all this, their retweets, like you said, little following, would give you a boost based on like the followers you get. So um so when before I actually came across Stacknet and all, like there was like this stuff I used to do. You understand? I even though maybe I don't put out the whole article, but I mean I get like um put up posts on projects I'm interested in. And what it actually helped me do then, it gave me boost that this project, they followed me back, the CEO followed me and all. Not like they employed me though, but what it gave me is okay, when someone comes across my profile, they can say, okay, these top guys are actually following this person. So that's a way. These are ways like you can build your following, and it will keep you on track to becoming something great, like in the long run. So what I actually advise people is that when you come into the Web3, don't think that okay, because people are already up there that you can't make it. So the people that are actually up there, it took them years. I won't lie to you. So I say that I've been in the space for like 2017. I'm not saying it will take the same time for you. So, but the the way to shorten the time frame of how long it will take you to get to a specific place that someone is by learning from someone that has already done those things. Like, you understand? So it will shorten this time frame for you basically. Um yeah. So just try and learn from the best. I mean, you can check out a few guys that create very good content around Web3. Learn from them, like know what they are doing. They already have big followers, but you can learn their writing structure, how they do their stuff, and how consistent they are. I think when it comes to building followers or building your community, it's all about consistency. Because if you as a community leader or community builder is not consistent enough, your community as well won't be consistent in following up your updates and all. And even based on Twitter algorithm, when you're not consistent, your reach drops drastically. So now, as a new person in the Web3 space, it's going to be hard coming up with good content. Me personally, I use ChatGPT. I use AI tools and stuff, but there are ways to use AI. I can work with AI to give me a good content, but when I give it to you, you won't identify that it's actually AI that work on this stuff. So you can work with different tools to simplify to make your work a bit faster, but you have to like also apply the knowledge you have. So yeah, this is actually my 2 cents around like the question you asked. So also give me a thumbs up if I answered it well. If I did not, you would bring me back to the question. What practical things can you do? Can a community manager do to foster participation among members? Okay. So what I've actually like seen most community managers do is is they kind of like put out like games or some sort of like fun stuff around the community and all. But the activities you are doing in your community depends on the project you are building. That's actually like my answer to that. So now, if you are building community of developers, so now you can, so now there are actually ways to manipulate some of these things, right? Not like you can actually, not like you would manipulate it over. Let's say now you are a team of like say 2 people, you understand, or you're a team of like 3 people. You're a team of, I'll come back to that. You're a team of 3 people and all. So you can come up and throw questions like for the community, not as the community manager do, right? Come up and throw questions around the project you are building. I mean, these are some of the tricks that some of these projects use, right? Come up and throw a question that would make the community like want to answer them. You understand? I've seen people, just like I said, it all depends on the project you are managing as a community manager. You can't be building a community of developers and start pulling out content that are irrelevant to them, right? You have to remain relevant to what you're doing. So the activities you can pull up is you can ask questions like with one of your team members or something can ask question and throw it around. People might actively participate in that. Then activity I've also seen is you can do a ask me anything in your community, right? That works too. But the retention is low after the this thing, the ask me anything section. So community engagement actually all depends on the quality of your community members. Imagine you have a community of 1,000 people in your Telegram group, and let's say 90% of them are just bots. Basically, you put in the whole blame on yourself for like injecting bots into your community because you don't have real people in there. But you can't have a community of like 5,000 people and you won't see participation in the group. You understand? Even when you throw questions around and stuff, you will see participation in there because you have quality people that you attracted based on your content. So to promote active participation, you need to have good content like outside the community, right? You need to like ask questions around. Maybe one of your team members can do that to foster good engagement and all. You can do ask me anything, ask me um, anything like section in the group over time. And you can also like host spaces like this. I mean, Twitter has Telegram now has like stuff like you can invite an external speaker and all to do that. So it fosters like groups. It's also like available on Discord. So yeah, these are like the few stuff you can do, but it all depends on the project you are handling, basically. And you can also do some games with some little giveaways, but all those things are short timed. Their retention rate is very, very low. After the whole giveaway and all, the retention dies. So you need to attract quality people to be able to maintain a good engagement. It's Seta and community builder the same. In a nutshell, it's a large followers. I don't even have a large. I just have three 3.7K followers on my on my Twitter. So like I said, it's not about large followers. I mean, all of us we started like from zero followers, right? So it's all about putting your content out there and making your content like okay for top guys to retweet your content. Because if you are very good enough, people that are actually good out there knows the value of what you're doing will retweet your content basically. And that's it. And it's a lot easier when you are building around a specific ecosystem. Because when you get known around a specific ecosystem and they know that this is kind of content to do, some people would turn on your notification and all. And from there you start like growing and so it doesn't really have to do with the amount of followers you have because even if you have like 50 followers, you have to build them from zero. You have to build them from scratch. And the strategies you can use is by being consistent, putting out good content there, and doing threads on projects that have the potential of actually retweeting your work. It gives you visibility of other people seeing your work as well and people like following you and all. Okay, so it's chatter and community builder the same. So I wasn't making the chatter and community building like let me just say uh, for community building chatter is is below. I mean it's low when it comes to like the rank, the hierarchy of let's say community building. It's very very low. When you start thinking about the whole chatter and stuff is maybe when the quality of your community is very low. You understand? Because if the quality of your community is high and the content you put there is okay, um you wouldn't actually need to do a lot of chatter yourself. You understand? Or you wouldn't like need to like ask people like good morning, how you guys doing, this, that. That might not be necessary. You might create room for okay, uh, people waiting for you to like ask them GM, 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 GM. So the best solution to this is by putting out like good content outside Telegram or Discord, which is on Twitter. Then people will see this your content. And over time you can channel people to your Telegram that are interested in this specific stuff through, let's say, a workshop or a boot camp or a session that people people that are relevant people that are interested in what you're doing would attend to. This will bring in good and relevant people into your community. So chatter is 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 just low. Is the rank in community building of chatter is very very low. It's very very low. It's very very low actually. So I won't say they are the same. They are not the same. My question is, which social media is best for starting up a community? So you obviously need your community to be together because you need that togetherness. You understand? So it's good to, let's assume you have a project that wants to build a community around games and all. So now it's good to have the Twitter, it's good to have the Telegram or Discord, depending on one you choose. But personally, I choose Telegram because it's I, for me it's better for me though. I don't know about other people. For me, I choose Telegram, right? Because it just has like this thing about it, right? So it's good to have every social media possible that is relevant to your product or to what you're building. So reason why is because as you are gaining audience in the other one, it channels people that are interested to stay on Telegram to Telegram. It channels people everywhere. So I wouldn't say it's okay to just create Twitter. No, Twitter is not enough. You need a room to have your community in. It could be Discord, it could be Telegram. So just have Twitter, Telegram, or Discord. That works. Twitter or Telegram, or Twitter or Discord. That works. So now your activity over time will determine the kind of people you attract as a community builder, as a community manager. So in essence, I mean, community managers are also most times referred to community builders because some of this project like put it up to you that okay, you have to like build up this community to this extent. You have to like keep them united. You have to do this, do that, and do that, and do all this stuff. So more like just like as I said, as a community builder, you need to have a lot of skills. You need to have writing skills, community management skills, and a whole lot basically. So yeah.
Wow, so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time. I mean, you gave in-depth answers to all these questions. I don't know if anybody other person still have any questions for us this evening. This is like an hour well spent. An hour well spent. I want to believe. So, any other question? Any other question? Any other question? I thought I saw future typing one time. Someone was typing before. Okay, so what do we say to Mr. Paul? Give us his time today, shared from his wealth of experience and knowledge. So we have to thank him profusely for sharing this value with us. So next thing, this final word for newbies like us, sir. Okay. So she give us final word.
Okay, so for a newbie or for someone that got into crypto like newly, what I would say, I'm also referring back to what I said initially, is for you to stand out, you need to be a bit exceptional. So, and for you to be exceptional, you need to like learn things at the core. Don't think that okay, the little things are enough. They might be enough, but then you don't know the opportunity you might see in the near future and all. So the essence of learning things at the core is in case you jam any specific opportunity, be able to grab them based on the knowledge you have. You understand? Because you might, okay, let's say as a newbie now, okay, say, okay, I might ask you, okay, what is, let's say, what's an easy question I will ask? Okay, let's say, what's a layer two or something? Or how would you describe a layer one, like layer one blockchain? Or you don't even need to like know all those big grammars. The most important thing is, do you understand the concept? Can you explain this without opening your book or opening the internet and all? Listen now, like I explained how layer twos work. So layer twos, they function as a layer on top of the base layer, which is layer one, right? So the work of a layer two is to bundle transactions from the layer two to the layer one, which is verifier, right? So even if you have like this little knowledge, or this understanding of what a layer two is, you might not even need to like know the big grammars. Most important thing is okay when you encounter this, you can explain it like very easy to anybody, right? So you should be able to like understand these things at the core, so you can explain it to anybody that you come across. So let it not be that okay when you want to maybe trade, you might not be asking someone, how do I get a contract address? How do I set up a wallet? Whereas you say you have been in crypto for some time. But if you're in crypto, you'll be able to like understand this thing. So you can assist yourself with watching videos, reading articles, and then practicalize them using your devices and all.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. That's the powerful final word there. Thank you. Thank you so much for your time. Thanks so much for your time. You've really shared a lot with us this evening. Chisholm is typing. I just wanted to give everybody some somebody say something, but I hope it's thank you want to type. And I hope it's thank you for typing, not another question. Thank you. Thank you so much. I personally do appreciate this, and we appreciate your time with us this evening. And without further ado, we'll be saying we're bringing this to a close. And it was a powerful 1 hour and some minutes. So, everyone, I was recording this, so it's going to be available for us like catch up on because it's something you have to listen to again and again. Make your notes and start taking action. If you notice everything here, they are all action points. They are not theories. They are all action points. And like you said, you have to go the extra mile. You can't just be average and all of that, or just say let's just be. So I'll provide the recording soon after so that we can go through them again and again and again and again. All right. So thank you everybody for your time this evening. I'm happy that my most consistent participants they all showed up. So I'm glad you guys made this commitment today, even though it's Wednesday. Um, thank you, Paul, again. All right. So on this note, I'll say good night, Paul. Good night, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your week. In case, unless we have a class on Friday, if I have a class on Friday, I'll communicate it back to us. But for now, continue enjoying your week. All right. Good night.
Night.